Bilingualism and grammar approach. An important approach in bilingual programs is grammar approach. Now, before we discuss what grammar approach is, it is important to remember that the key distinguishing features of bilingual programs are number one, that it blends the content learning with the language learning, and it encourages different languages. Ideally, it encourages all the languages that the children bring in because it definitely encourages plurilingualism, though at times that might not be possible and only two languages might be chosen by the institution. In any case, its aim is to develop tolerance towards other languages. Now, when we say that all bilingual education programs actually blend language learning with content learning, there are three reasons that are given for this approach. And number one is that cognitive development of a child is intrinsically linked with the language development. So when we support both the cognitive development and somehow expose the child to the content knowledge while also supporting the language within which the content is presented, then we have somehow provided the child with very beneficial support systems. The second reason that is given for this blending of content and language is that it allows the development of the school language. Now, the school language or the academic language is what the learners need to succeed in the learning, because if you would notice that academic language is different from the conversational language that we use with others at home. So those abstract constructs, how to talk about them. So this blending of content and language allows the learners to sort of use the language, the appropriate language for that discipline to learn and talk about it. The third reason that is given why we need to blend language learning with content learning is that it is not only beneficial to learn the content, but it is also beneficial way of providing an opportunity to the learners to engage in new language constructions within an authentic, situations. Now, what are these authentic situations? These authentic situations are the academic based communication that often occurs within classrooms or within schools. So if the students constantly are helped to or supported to use language structures to talk about their academics, then this is exactly what they need to do within the schools. So we have provided then the learners with these opportunities to use language in authentic circumstances, and this supports their language learning itself. Now, coming back to the focus of grammar approach. Now, the focus of the grammar approach, as the title suggests, is on the teaching of grammatical structures of a language. So it sees language itself as a whole body of complex language structures, and these structures are considered to be very important in the learning of any language. So a lot of teaching and learning around grammatical structures. Sometimes there is, more often than not, I would rather say, there is explicit teaching of the grammatical structures. By explicit teaching, we mean that the teacher gives direct instruction about when a grammatical structure might be used or might not be used. This is what is called explicit instruction. And then there is practice of grammar, lots of practice of grammatical structures. Now, there are three forms into which grammar approach splits. Number one is grammar translation. The other one is direct method, and the third one is audiolingual method. Grammar translation methods focuses on the translation of one text from the other text. Direct method, the certain patterns of language are used and constantly used, and then the learners are supposed to sort of infer the grammatical structures and learn from them. And audiolingual method itself is about listening to the language carefully, repeating the patterns of language, grammatical structures again and again, and to practice learning them. Both of these three actually, I would say, are based on behavioral approach to learning itself. Grammar translation, unless you're really doing translation studies, is quite out of vogue. The direct methods is very much there, and so is the audiolingual method. But what to use when, that is the art of teaching.